So the new Chronicle book was just released, recapping the past 5 expansions, and they just casually dropped the name of yet another Void Lord. So far, we know for a fact multiple exist. We heard of Dimensius, the Old Devouring, the Master of Xal'atath, and the one that is after Azeroth, but we just learned about a guy called Invalidus as well. We actually saw a small glimpse of him back in Worlds of Draenor, and check this out. He was around Oshagun, a fallen Naru ship that functioned as a crystal that had a Naru inside that was changing into the Void. Sounds pretty similar to the War Within and what is currently going on with the mysterious crystal called Beledar and the Void Cycle. So who is Invalidus? Is he working together with Dimensius? Are they rivals? And is this going to be one of the main villains in the near future? If you guys want to buy Total War, Elder Scrolls, or any other game, you can get them at great prices with my Gamivo link. You can also get anything Warcraft related, gift cards and software, and all below market prices. Best of all, if you add my code DORON, you can get an even bigger discount, so make sure to check out my link in the description and get some amazing deals with Gamivo. If you've been following the lore for a while, you might know that after the defeat of Sargeras, the Void Lords are really the true villains of the Warcraft universe. They're the new big bad that we currently have. We've known for a fact that there are multiple Void Lords, but we never really knew the names of any of them other than Dimensius until we had just learned about a brand new Void Lord. So the Void Lords in general are a very tricky bunch. They were said to be jealous of the power of the Titans, but not because they're not as powerful as the Titans, but because they can't manifest their power in the material plane. For that, they need a source. They live within the void plane of existence, and it is likely that within that plane, they may be as powerful, if not more powerful, than the Titans. Now, the new Chronicle book just came out, and we got some really interesting information. So, at this point, it's pretty certain what they're trying to do with Azeroth. It's either to summon themselves or to raise a new void creature from Azeroth's World Soul, because, as I stated, they need a power source. Interestingly enough, in Chronicle 4, Blizzard has changed the narrative in the book. They didn't say that Azeroth is going to awaken as a Titan, but that it can awaken as a Titan or as a void creature. This almost essentially confirms what we had previously believed. Azeroth is a world soul, elemental in nature, and it can essentially be swayed whatever way you want it to go. So if you pump it up with Order magic, it's going to be born as a Titan. If you pump it up with the Void, like the Black Empire has been doing, they might become a Void Lord. Interesting enough, they stated it can be born as a creature of the Void. They're no longer talking about a Void Titan that they had previously believed. This is essentially a soft confirmation that Azeroth is not really a Titan. I mean, it can be a Titan, but it can also be a void creature, or maybe even a death god, or maybe something entirely different. So as I said, it seems like Azeroth is this neutral power source that can be swayed depending on the influence of the cosmological force that is invading the planet. Now, when it comes to the actual Void Lord information, we had just learned about a brand new Void Lord, the second one named in the lore, and that is Invalidus. So the information itself comes from the recap of Worlds of Draenor and the events we had seen. Essentially, it's about Oshagun and the fallen Naru that is inside. Cho'Gall was searching for a void fallen Naru as they turn into void beings when they're injured, and he employed the Pale Orcs in order to be able to enter. At the same time, Warsong shamans were using their power to channel void portals from the Twisting Nether in order to feed the Void Lord Invalidus. Now, if you may remember Worlds of Draenor, this was literally a tiny mob we faced and we fought him off, and you might think they didn't really mean this, it's just one of those Voidwalker types that the Warlocks summon. People stated that the Void Lords were not in capital letters, which might mean that they're not really referring to the guys, the big guys. However, we had actually seen actual Void Lords referred to in the same manner in the past, like Dimensius the Old Devouring. Remember Dimensius? I mean, he was also a tiny little mob we defeated back in the Burning Crusade on Outland, also just a Void Lord mob that was recently confirmed to be the Master of Xal'atath. He was also said to be the one that is hell-bent on awakening Azeroth, and it is also the guy that destroyed the planet Kardesh. Remember what Xal'atath told us when she was in the dagger? You had only seen the faintest echoes of the Void Lords. You can't even imagine their true power. Remember, Void Lords, not the echoes of a single Void Lord. By the time she was giving us this hint, we had already seen both Dimensius and Invalidus in the game. The thing is, like, these Void Lords are able to summon themselves in these tiny forms, like akin to minions. It's very similar to the avatar of Sargeras that you might know was defeated by a single powerful mage on Azeroth, while the real Sargeras in full power could split a planet in half with one single swing. So just because this guy was a mob, it doesn't really mean much. However, there is something much more interesting, and that is that this Void Lord came to Oshogun. Check this out. Oshogun is actually a Naru ship named Ganedar, a light ship and technically a crystal. The Naru inside, as he was damaged, started shifting into the void, which would essentially transform this crystal. Does this sound like something similar we're seeing right now? In Hellfall, we got a gigantic light crystal called Beledar that also very recently started shifting into the void, and now we learn that suddenly the Void Lord Dimensius the All-Devouring is trying to get his hands on this. It really seems like the Void Lords are opportunistic, and when these occasions arise for the Naru to turn, they try to capitalize on it. Remember what Xel'Had also said, the Naru are our long-lost brethren and they just kinda rebelled. Soon they will return back to the fold. It was previously stated that the light and the void are two sides of the same coin, so there is definitely some sort of an inherent connection between the Void Lords and the Naru, and we're going to learn about it soon. We still of course don't know what exactly Beledar is, but it is very possible that it is in fact a Naru ship. I mean, just the naming convention makes sense. All the Naru ships are named like this: Xenedar, Ganedar, Exodar. It's also very likely now that in this alternate timeline, the Void Lord Invaders were trying to do a similar thing and was stopped, and we stopped an invasion and we didn't even know what was going on, as this was a much smaller scale invasion. However, here's a very interesting thing though that Blizzard Kid previously set up. Void Lords, as inherently chaotic beings, were hinted to not at all be working together, very similar to the old gods. So while some of them might band together, they might not be working on the same goal. It is entirely possible that Invalidus and Dimensius could be rivals, might even be at war with each other, might hate each other. At the same time, they could be best friends, they could also be working together. Recent beta information has confirmed that Dimensius the All-Devouring is the one that is behind Xal'Atath, and very likely the one most interested in Azeroth. It was also confirmed that Alleria is getting whispers directly from the Void Lords as well. As far as we know, she might not be hearing Dimensius, but she may be hearing Invalidus or some other guy that we're going to soon learn about. However, seeing that Azeroth is a really big deal and a supreme power source that everyone and their mother is after, I do feel like the Void Lords, at least a few of them, might actually unite for this goal, as it would really be a gigantic victory for the Void Realm in general. So very likely we could be seeing Dimensius and Invalidus working together and possibly as bosses in Midnight, but not as these like tiny minions, but actually very powerful guys. Also, from the recent Chronicle lore, it seems like the goal is, as is stated, to create a void creature, so this awakening would ultimately serve to create potentially a new Void Lord, like Azeroth would turn into a Void Lord. It doesn't really seem like the Titans and the Void Lords are really all that different, like wandering the universe and trying to convert these power sources to their side. The main difference is that the Titans can kind of just like barge in, while the Void Lords need to send their minions, the old gods, and a whole bunch of others so that they can set the ground, so that they can start summoning themselves. And as we had seen, they do summon themselves. I mean, we ran into both Dimensius and Invalidus. This might be exactly why the Void Lords are jealous of the Titans' powers, as it takes them much longer to summon themselves, but I do feel like their full power potential is at a similar level, and we're going to be very likely see Invalidus soon. Thanks for watching. Check out the light on the Emperor by clicking on the screen, and check out my video on Ancient Training on the second channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.